is meant to design for safety and for in the event that I have to eject out of the airplane. The plane that I fly is a little fighter jet and an ejection seat's in it. So before we crash, I pull a little handle and I ride a little rocket outside of the airplane, and it's a whole lot of force. And you usually get hurt when you do that because it's so fast. It's kind of like being in a car crash, but hopefully you don't get hurt. The other thing, I wear these boots. These boots have steel toes in them. So that means that my toes are protected, so if I go eject out of the airplane and my feet happen to kick the dashboard, it doesn't break my toes, right? That would hurt a lot. So the first thing I put on when I get dressed is this thing here. It's called a G suit. Does anybody know what a G is? Ever heard of that before? Take a guess. What do you think? I'll give you a hint. We are at 1 G right now. Anybody? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Room?
What's that?
Room?
A room? Well, close. A G is a force of gravity. So at 1 G, let's say, just for round numbers, let's say I weigh 150 pounds. At 1 G, I weigh 150 pounds. That seems like a lot, right? But I'm lying. I'm actually a lot more than that. So at 2 Gs, does anybody know what 2 times 150 is?
2 times 2.
Yes, sir.
300.
Excellent. 300. So at 2 Gs, I would weigh 300 pounds. That's amazing. The plane that I fly can do 7.5 Gs. That means that my body would weigh way over 1,300 pounds, 1,300 pounds, right? More importantly, my head, and most importantly, the blood that's in my head weighs that much more also, which means that when I'm flying in the airplane and I do a big old turn and I pull on 7.5 Gs on the airplane, all the blood that's in my brain wants to go down to my toes. So to help keep me conscious so that I don't faint and pass out and then crash the airplane and all that's bad stuff, right? I wear these pants. They're called a G suit. They're actually like balloon pants. They inflate. Watch this. Ready? And they get really tight. And it's really hard to talk. Those are all filled with air. And that's how you let it out. So did you guys notice that my little pen here is on a string? That's because it's very, very important not to drop anything in the airplane. If I drop something in the airplane, it may get stuck in the flight controls, and it may make the airplane not fly anymore. And people have actually died from dropping their pens in the airplane. So I put mine on a string, so if I drop it, it just goes like that, and I can pick it up and put it back on. Next thing are in these pockets here. I keep some other flight gear, like, for example, my flight gloves. These are also made out of Nomex, so if I get caught in fire, it won't burn my hands off. But notice my fingers? See my fingers stick out? That's because in the plane that I fly, there's lots of little buttons and knobs and computer screens that I have to be able to touch and be able to feel. And I have to be able to do it without looking, so I have to hit knobs and stuff on the sides and in front of me without looking. So my fingers are cut out so that I can feel. Most importantly, in this pocket, guess what I have? Super most important piece of flight gear ever. Jonathan, you know all about these. Barf bags. Not for me though, you know, for other people in case they get sick while they're flying. But no, I would never get sick while flying. Yeah, I should hand these out for the class, right?
Yeah.
All right, the next thing I wear is this thing here. Johnny, can you come up here for a second? So this is like really super light. Hold that for a sec. You ready? Oh, this is about 45 pounds worth of flight gear. Thanks, Johnny. This is both a harness and all of my survival equipment. So I have to kind of shimmy it up like this. Yep. I got to put my G-suit hose through there. Get this up over my shoulders, and this is what I have to do every time I fly. Yeah, there's lots of stuff that... So this is my oxygen mask, and inside there's also a little microphone, and so when I have to talk to the people on the ground, this is how I talk to it.
So if you have my face like this,
But it's not hooked up to oxygen, so I can't breathe when I pull it.
got it?
Oh, sorry. No, it's just fun to do. It clips on right here when I'm not wearing it. It's hard to see a little snap. Yes, sir?
Is there a life vest included in that?
Very, very good question. This thing around my neck right here, we nickname it the horse collar because it kind of looks like the thing that you put on a horse. That is a life vest. It's like a flotation device. So if I hit the water, it will inflate automatically. It has little carbon dioxide cartridges down here, or if I pull these little beaded handles, these little black handles here, it'll explode. But I can't do it because then somebody else has to fix it, and that creates work, and I don't want to make work for other people. So this is a combination of my harness. So remember I said I was in an ejection seat? If I have to eject out of the airplane, these little straps right here go up to the parachute that's above me. These two ones on my hips here are what they're like the seat belt. They hold you into the seat. but the seat is hollow and it holds a whole bunch of like survival stuff in it, like the life raft and some food and some water and a big radio, so that I can call for help once I'm down in the water. And again, I'm in the Navy, so they expect that if I have to get out of the airplane, I'm going to be in the water because we fly over the water all the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. And let's see, I've got a radio here. This little yellow thing right here is actually a knife. You want to see it?
Yeah.
It's a weird knife. Look, it's got a hook on it. All right, so what this is actually for is if I have to eject and I have that parachute above me, sometimes those strings get tangled up, and I can use this real quick to cut one of the strings so that my parachute doesn't get all tangled up. It's in the front, and it has this lanyard in it, because remember I said that ejection is like being in a car crash? There's a good possibility that I might break an arm when I eject out of the airplane. So I have to be able to get to this thing with either hand with one arm being immobilized. And everything else that I wear is all automatic. So I mentioned that this little life raft inflates automatically. My life raft inflates automatically, and my parachute will release from here automatically all in the water. So I don't even have to be conscious when I eject out of the airplane. It'll still save my life. That's the whole point. Because if I have to, it's like the last ditch thing. And so that probably means that something went horribly, horribly wrong, and I had to get out of the airplane. So I talked about my oxygen mask. This is a regulator over here in the side pockets. I've got a few little things like a signaling mirror and some flares and some things to be able to signal other people. Yes, ma'am?
Do you have a flashlight anywhere if you,
Yes. It normally goes right in these straps right here. I don't have it in right now because I don't ever fly at night anymore, so I don't carry a flashlight. I actually carry a little one just in a separate bag that I carry that I didn't bring with me today. So the last thing that I wear, anybody have a guess? What's the last thing? Yep, I have my mask here. What's the last thing that I have to put on?
the helmet?
Yeah, my helmet. Here we go. Look at that. Whoops. So this is my flight helmet. I'll put it on, but I'll tell you what, the helmet actually has hearing protection, so it like keeps the loud noises from hurting my ears. And it's got speakers in there too. So I'll put it on, but once I put it on, I can't hear you talking, okay? So now I can't hear a thing you're saying. Any questions? What? What? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? You
No,
like
what?
potatoes?
Somebody say something. I really can't hear you guys at all. You're so quiet. That's your clue to be loud. So yeah, once the mask is on, this little thing right here plugs into right here on my mask, and that's how I can hear when I'm talking to people. This plugs into the jet. That's got my oxygen and the communications, so my headset and my mask, and then this is where I plug the G suit into the jet. That's it. What do you think? Oh, the helmet is reflective, so that if I go in the water and I'm bobbing up and down and I'm floating, that the people that are looking for me can see the big, bright, reflective helmet. Even the blue is actually reflective tape on the helmet, so the whole thing will glow at night.
Because you painted on there.
Yep. Well, I stuck it on there. Cool. All right, what questions you guys have?
Glow in the dark.
It's like reflective. It doesn't really glow in the dark, but if you shine a flashlight on it, then it'll reflect really bright, so you'll be able to see me out amongst all the waves and everything. Yes, ma'am?
Did you always know you wanted to be in the Navy and fly?
Flying, yes. Navy, no.
Okay.
I've wanted to fly since I was about your guys' age, and I just joined the Air Force first
Okay.
because I thought they were the only ones that had airplanes, and then it turned out that I had to go to the Air Force Academy. I didn't want to go to anyway. That's a long story, but I sort of just ended up here. I didn't really intend to be a test pilot, but I stayed in school, right? I listened to my teacher,
Nice.
right?
I listened to your teacher next time.
And yes, and when you do well in school and when you listen to your teacher, that will allow you to do more things that you want to do in life. And it starts right here, right now, today. And you have to go pretty far. In order to fly airplanes, you have to have a college degree, which means you have to get into a college. And all of that starts, and you make that possible by listening and paying attention to your teachers today. Sometimes, yes ma'am?
If you blow that thing up, does it help you float better?
It sure does, yeah. That's one of our survival techniques too, is that if that horse collar thing that's around my neck, if that doesn't work right, I can actually grab this hose and blow it up. The one problem though is, you ever worn like swim wings like on your ankles?
Yeah.
It makes you go upside down?
Yeah.
So it would hold me upside down if I was unconscious, but I can use it to help stay afloat if like maybe my life raft isn't working. Yes, sir?
What happens if the ejection seat doesn't work?
Bad things. We have lots and lots of people that make sure those ejection seats absolutely will work, and there's like, even once they put it in the airplane, they have 2 or 3 people that double check and triple check to make sure that the seat works. But the airplane that I fly is so safe. I mean, there's really very little danger of it ever going wrong. We have, the flight controls have 4 backups on them. So if 1 fails, 2 fails, 3 fails, I can still land the airplane. It has 4 complete total independent backups. So the odds of having to eject really happens like if I get shot at or something like that. But I'm not in combat, so nobody's shooting at me. Yay!
Yay, you're free.
Yes, ma'am.
And have you ever fell in the water before?
Have I fell in the water?
Yeah, like.
Sure, not from the airplane.
No.
Nope, I have never ejected, I never want to. Not very many people have because it's so rare, and usually it's something that goes really wrong with the airplane. One point I wanted to make though, sometimes I get asked a question about whether girls can fly airplanes, and the answer is absolutely yes, you can. So, girls actually make better fighter pilots than boys do. Did you know that? Remember that G-forces I was talking about and how the blood weighs more? Women can actually take G-forces better than men can. So women actually make better fighter pilots and pulling G's than men can. The only reason we don't have more women flying airplanes is just because somebody at some point says you can't do it. Well, I'm here to tell you you can do it. Okay? You guys listening? Anybody can. But you have to stay in school, and you have to listen to your teacher.
I'm quitting when I'm 6 feet.
Well, then
I
you're
doubt
going to limit
that,
your
yeah.
options, right? You're not going to be able to do all the things that you might want to do in life if you get out of school early. All right, let's go with you.
What college did you go to?
I went to Purdue University.
Yes.
You know where that is? Yeah. You guys like Purdue? All
Pretty
right.
fancy.
All right, let's go with you.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a new airplane that we saw that went on the water with the G. Have you ever tried that?
To land on the water?
Yeah. Airplane?
I have actually flown an amphibious airplane that lands on the water. The plane that I fly for the Navy, though, lands on carriers.
Oh, and my other question was, has your plane not worked before?
Sure, but it's always, like, has my airplane not worked before? Yes, but it's always been little things. Once or twice I've had pretty bad emergencies, but it has 2 engines, so if one engine shuts down, we just land with the other engine, and that's fine. And we also have the ability, like if I have a problem with my brakes, that's kind of common. Navy airplanes have this thing called a tail hook, and when we land, we grab this wire that's across the runway, and that helps us stop.